sharing, because I know that that's very difficult. Like, it, even for us listening, like, our hearts are with you, absolutely, because it just sounds like a moment that completely changed your life, right?
Totally,
So
continuously, right?
Yes,
absolutely,
continuously.
Yeah.
and you will live with it for the rest of your life,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, um, and just to clarify, you were 23, McKenna, when your son passed.
Yes, I was 23, and then I was 24 when I was diagnosed with the rheumatoid arthritis, officially diagnosed. And so,
Did you have any complications during your pregnancy?
surprisingly, I did not. I did not have any complications.
Okay, that's
I'm
great.
talking about with
That's wonderful.
Nehemiah.
Only with Nehemiah was it's he has like a dose of
No, I'm
hog.
saying, but did you have complications with him
No, I
after
didn't.
the fact?
No, no.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So also back in May, we remember y'all stating that, the incidents of gun violence are not isolated, and that it's followed you from 16 to adult years. And I know that also goes for you, Derek, like following you throughout your life.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that point?
Um, and it's proximity. You know, it's an environment. It's that's I mean, key point probably was actually watching the movie Trading Places, and the rich billionaires were doing the experiment on the value of humans. So but it's the environment. So it's like that's like my kids they don't see what I seen when I was growing up, not at all. Like we was actually seeing people with guns, people robbing, snatching pocketbooks, people breaking in stores. If it was
Mm-hmm.
riots, people throwing rocks at the buses, and uh, it was just wild in my neighborhood growing up. I mean, most of the people was in poverty growing up in the projects. You know what I mean? But they actually changing the terrain mostly in the same area, but they actually making it, look more presentable. But like I said, like in my time, every neighborhood we growed up in was kind of rough. So our upbringing was rough. So that's the key of how it follows you from 16 on to the age that you get. That you feel like, hey man, this is not the neighborhood I want to raise my kids in. I don't want to be ducking going to the store, a corner store, just to go get some eggs and get cracked in the head. You know what I'm saying? Just or getting robbed and things. But it's the nature of the beast. It's the neighborhood. We call it ghetto. It's not a community. It's a neighborhood. So basically everybody who actually work in that neighborhood don't live there. They live somewhere else. They just come, exploit our, make money off us, and then go back. Don't put that money. Don't go back into the neighborhood. That's what we're saying. And for the recycling of the community to be able to actually have a new basketball court somewhere where all of us can go and do something. Instead of being on a corner. But that's how it was. YMCA's when they took those away from us, that was a good outlet because it had even like the guys that was inside the projects was able to
Mm-hmm.
galvanize the guys that was even was bad or didn't have their parents whatever. They created basketball teams, football teams, so we was able to learn discipline. Then instead of running around in the streets, so it was always programs around where we was coming up to keep most of the people out in harm's way if they could, and even when they had the vans or the buses used to come pick us up in the groups. It take us to the park, take us places as groups, but then those budgets, just when that stuff stopped happening, then a lot of stuff started happening in our neighborhood. So it's just the terrain of the structure, the infrastructure, or we live and born and raised because when I was living in Augusta, Georgia, I was born and raised. I got a chance to experience living in Augusta, Georgia, and Aiken, South Carolina, and that was one of the phenomenal. It was phenomenal. It was like looking at TV. Living Christmas was snowing and when you had the
Really
class,
the environment.
yeah, it was beautiful. You know what I mean? So it's like even like I seen that difference, like I had a taste of it because my dad used to work for a power plant. He was he was a plumber at the time, but it was beautiful to travel and be in the woods and look at nature. It was different than gun violence. You know what I'm saying? So I got a chance to see the difference and seeing that what the environment would have done for us. Like it had me more adventurous when I was living up the road because of you just going through the woods and traveling. It was more like while you're in a neighborhood that's constructed how it's constructed, you still being adventurous, but now you're doing stuff that they already constructed you to do, as in TV and music. You know, they got already programmed you to be a certain way. So you follow this, peer pressure, or follow the hype or what everybody else doing. So that will continuously have you going in the pattern of following and think you got to be hard and gangster or you got to be rough and tough because you're growing up in an environment where everybody got to fight all the time. You're going
Well,
to.
and I like the point that you made about poverty, right? And that's definitely what we've been kind of leading towards as well, right? Poverty is really
Right.
It's
I
a
could
key.
say-
It's a real key too. That's a real key.
I wanted to also kind of find out how did the incident impact your work, especially you should kind of giving you work law enforcement, right? How did that impact you having
Yes,
been
I was gonna
you
say
like,
I wanted to collaborate on this being at the age of 16. I came from a good neighborhood, and because my mom ended up being a single parent, I ended up in a bad neighborhood. So in that bad neighborhood was the same neighborhood where I lost my son that I moved out of because I didn't want my kids to experience that, but still ended up losing a kid in the same area. At 16, I also witnessed a murder that I was on trial for. And that murder followed me until my adult years. I was working as a 911 police dispatcher and I had to testify on this same murder at 23 years old as well. So working law enforcement and then also meeting him, there was people talking because they're like, oh, he come from a criminal back path, he has a criminal past and you're a police dispatcher. How does that work? I said, well, when I meet people, I'm not, running their record. But as I found out what he had, I was like, okay, he don't have any robbing in his past. He don't have any stealing. He just had a couple of, drug charges. I said, I see he was trying to make money, and it was like maybe back in 1999, 98. So, and I had met him 2006, like 2006, 2007. So there was a gap. So I said, I see that he's trying to change his life. So I don't want to be the person to judge anyone because I had family members that also has criminal past in my family. So it's hard to get away from that. So I'm a person that I believe in second chances because before I started my job, I probably would have given him a chance anyway. So that's how we ended up together. And basically, him being in a relationship with me is what helped him go down the right path. That's what made him change his life because of being in a relationship with me. So I believe in rehabilitation. And it just takes that figure. They need that influence for them to go the right way. And that's what happened with our relationship.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Shakara. And thank you so much because I mean you're both just really heightening such important factors that we're seeing, right? Highlighting poverty, environment, right? Having you kind of have to be going from this like good neighborhood to like a neighborhood that's like not so good because of economic circumstances. Right. I'm wondering, and we're really wondering, because a lot of what we've heard from the community roundtables that we've done is that okay, these incidents will happen, and then you don't hear anything.
Right.
You don't get it. Or you don't hear anything. So wanting to learn and hear more from your perspective, like, did you receive any support? If so, what support did you receive? Who did you receive it from? And then what resources do you think are missing? And that can be a letter question.
I mean, at first, when it was out, because everybody, when there's a big story, you have all these politicians and these influencers, they come out and they want to be in the media, so they use your story for them to get the publicity. We had Al Sharpton, all of those people out there rallying for us, and they promised us all these things, and then when the hype went down, those things weren't given to us. We were like left hanging. So that's what made us start this organization for ourselves, because we didn't want our son's death to be in vain. We didn't want him to just be another statistic. So all these people that promised us all these things, when the story got low and low in the media, everybody's gone. There's nobody there to help you. So the only help that we got was going to church, going to our cousins.
I don't know, from your job.
From my job first, yes. From my
basically,
job first, yes.
I mean,
Yes.
through it all.
Right,
like,
through it all, yeah. From the beginning.
From the beginning to now. Like,
Right.
the support from that, from my job, that support never stopped. But from, just family and friends, like, majority of, like, well, they bring you a bag of rice. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
talk about it, say something about it. But they don't even know what you're really going through. To like, your whole life is done changed completely. Like, it's 360. You are not the same person, and never will be, because of that situation. And then they, and I don't want you to feel sorry for me. Respect what I went through, and you know what I mean, and
Right.
honor that situation where we can go forward. Don't make it seem like I'm just like I can care the same way. I can, but it's just like it's hard because what we've been through. But yeah, we got support. But we got support from family and friends, but like from outside of that little organization. But for me, I was talked about. I needed to go through therapy, or I needed, you know what I mean.
Yes.
But nobody never reached out. The what you call it? The state attorney office post, I think. They were saying something about it at the time, but I never received nothing. So
Yeah, we spent like so much. This trial was so long, so we was going through the trial for years, and it's like we could never really grieve, because every time it's being brought up, you're still grieving over and over, and then your family, everybody there, you're going through the situation, but everybody's acting like they're going through the situation when it's your situation, when it's our child that we lost. And my job did a tremendous job supporting us, getting together the money, the FOP of the city of Miami Springs.
Thank you, Miami Springs.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to bury my son, because I didn't know anything about life insurance. And that was my journey to becoming a life insurance agent. So on top of that, I'm also a life insurance agent because of my own personal story. That's all.
So I just wanted to clarify really quick. So you were going through trial
Yes.
for your loss of your child.
Yeah, but it didn't take. It took, like after the fact, it took years for it to happen.
Yes.
Like, it didn't happen like